I've completed all the steps in our vanity build today on Woodworking with Wes. Doors, drawers, hardware, made it look very nice. This is a project that could be used in almost anyone's home. Let's follow along with all of the steps that we need to do to finish this out and make it a beautiful piece of furniture for your home. Even though it is a bath vanity, it's still furniture. Let's finish up. We're getting ready to put together all of the doors and drawer faces. In fact, I even have some of them already done, but I wanted to go through it and show you how we're doing it. Now, we made a really good video on using our stile and rail set on our router table to make the doors. We're doing the same thing. I've gone ahead and done my stile and rail sets on my router table, but let's go ahead and put one together so you can see how I assemble a door. Now, these are our stile stock. And I always put them, now I've marked an X on the face, and so I put them back to back. Then I take my rail pieces. This is our rail piece, also marked X for front. I lay it up here on here, and I put a little mark to tell me where to put the glue. Because you don't glue the panel, you only glue the stile and rail ends together. Our panel, because this is a paint grade door, our panel is just MDF. I've sanded the face of it 150 so it's all smooth, because after you get it assembled you can't sand it. It's 1/2 inch thick, and I've made a back cut to create a 1/4 inch tongue for our groove and be ready to go on our assembly. Okay, let's go ahead and put it together. I just take a little glue I put here on the ends of my stile pieces, just like that. You want to have enough to have a good glue joint, but you don't want any glue to get into the panel area, especially if it was a solid wood door you wouldn't want. If this was a solid door and a solid panel, we would make our panel 1/4 inch less than our space allowed and use space balls to center it. Being as this is a paint grade door with an MDF panel that doesn't expand and contract with heat and humidity, we can go ahead and make our panel the exact size of the space that is allowed by stile and rail. And that's what we have done. Okay. All right. And I bring my clamps over, and I start at one end, making sure that I'm flush with my stiles and rails here, and I clamp one side down. I also make sure that my door is down tight against the bar of my bar clamp to hold my door flat. And then I come over to this side and do any adjustment. All right, there we are, flush on that side also. And then we put the final clamp on the other side and tighten it down. And I like to make sure that I have even pressure on both sides, and I can tell just by the tension on the clamp that I have even pressure. And I'm down tight. Our glue joint looks good. We have squeeze out on the joint, but nothing inside where the panel is. And our door is glued up, ready to sand as soon as it dries. We have 4 drawers for our vanity. They're all going to end up looking just like this, but let's put one together and show you how I do it. Now, again, I have made many videos, or a couple of videos, on how to put drawers together. On these doors and drawers that I've been showing you, please go back and look at those videos. We're going to provide a link at the end of our video for those videos of putting a door and a drawer together. I want you to go back and review those, because those are excellent videos on how to put doors and drawers, how to cut them out and how to put them together. Those are excellent videos, so go ahead and review those when you get an opportunity. These are the parts to our drawer box. This is the back, 2 sides, front. I have put a rabbet in our sides and front to receive a 1/4 inch bottom, and I nailed them together with my 18 gauge 1.5" brad gun. No glue. This is 5/8 pre-finished Baltic birch that we're using. I have used this for years in my drawer construction. I never have a problem with it. I've never had to go back and fix a drawer. Even though I don't glue my joints together, I've never had to go back and fix a drawer in all the time that I've used this method, and I've built hundreds of drawers in my kitchens. And so you just do it like that. It's just a butt joint, 18 gauge, 1.5 nails, nice and smooth. Go ahead and put this other joint together. Now this is a drawer for undermount soft close drawer guides, and so there needs to be a 1/2 inch recess on the bottom of the drawer. That's why there is a space down here. This is a 1/2 inch. Our drawer bottom will sit here. That allows for the capture devices for our undermount drawer guide. This is going to go like this. There has to be a space in the back for the drawer guide to come in. If I were to make this like this all the way around, I would have to make a cut to allow that drawer guide piece to come in. I'm going to show you that when I put these drawers in, but I go ahead and make it this way because first off, it's easier, but second off, it gives me an opportunity to square up the drawer as I assemble, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. But let's go ahead and nail in this back piece. I turn the drawer upside down. This piece is only the width of this top section of our drawer. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure we get the front side front. Okay, we're good. Okay, there's our drawer box all assembled. Our bottom to our drawer, our 1/4 inch bottom. This, like I say, this is pre-finished Baltic birch. This is just a wood grain 1/4 inch melamine that kind of matches the color and the grain. And my rabbet fits so that it slides in. So there it comes. And then I take a little bit of glue, tip it up on end, and I take a little bit of glue and I put only in the front of my drawer, just like that. All right, we slide this in like that, drawer goes down. All right, now I'm getting ready to nail in the 1/4 inch bottom. I've changed my gun over to my small crown staple. I have a 3/4 inch small crown staple. And what I do is I just make sure that my drawer bottom, my 1/4 inch bottom, is tight up to this side of my dado. And then I dado it all along the bottom. I give it the same little tap over here. Then I come over here and I put one staple that just holds that in place. And so now I know my drawer is square. I made sure my drawer bottom was square when I cut it. I made sure that my drawer sides were square when I cut them. And then by nailing the bottom in and squaring it up against one edge, I now know my drawer is nice and square. And then the inside is nice and clean. I can wipe this out. It just makes a nice clean drawer for whatever you're working on, whether it's a kitchen or a vanity or anything like that. You've made a nice clean drawer. Like I say, I want you to go back and look at the video that we did on making these drawers because it'll show you how to cut them out and get it all done. All right, there's our drawer. I forgot to mention, after I get the drawer all put together, I sand this top edge. I take an 1/8 inch round over and I go around the top of my drawer inside and out and then sand that. I also just kind of knock the rough edges off all the way around the bottom and clean it up so that it's a nice, smooth, clean drawer all the way around when we're all done. Okay, now your drawer's done. While our door is drying, we're going to go ahead and screw the 4 boxes that we put together last week together as one solid piece. Now, each one of these separate pieces gets screwed together with 1.5-inch square drive grabbers. So what we're going to do, and we want to make sure that it's perfectly flush top and bottom, because when we get the top screwed together, then we're going to screw the top section to this open shelf underneath, and if it's all square and flat across the top, this will pull this up, because it's open all the way, there's no support in the middle, but this will create the support for the middle. So I'm going to bring this out to this edge. This is the drawer section, here's the sink section, and we're going to clamp these together so that they're flush on top and flush along the face. And we just go like that. By bringing this out to the edge, I'm able to control the level a little better. Okay. All right, there we are. And what we do is we just clamped it so that this seam becomes nice and tight. We're going to move it out here so that we're all right, there we are, right where we want to be, flush, flush. Okay, then we take our screws and we just screw this together. Now I'm going to be screwing from the inside of the drawer section, and we'll be putting some white screw caps over it, but because this is going to be drawers, you won't see the screws. I won't put any screws on the inside section. That's the sink, and we want to keep that as clean and as nice as we can. We will have to be screwing through the floor of it into this piece to pull it all together. But for the part that we screw these 3 cabinets together, outside in, outside in. Just like that. And we'll give top and bottom, front and back. Okay, here we are, we're good. Now that we have our cabinets all screwed together, the next step was to put in our drawers. Now I went ahead and put a couple of them in. They're on soft close undermount drawer guides. You can see how they have a nice soft close action. Before we move over to the other side, I'm going to show you how to put them in. Remember I said we were going to put screws through the bottom here to pull these 2 cabinets together? We're going to cover those screws with these little, what they call screw caps. They're just a little self-adhesive white disc, and they fit over, they come in a little sheet like this, and they just fit over the top of the screws, and they hide the screw hole. And they're the same kind of in the same white color as the melamine, and so it just hides those screw holes real easy. All right, now here is an undermount drawer guide. Now we're using Bloom soft close 18-inch undermount drawer guides. We're going to go ahead and put them in here. I'm just going to show you how we do this. We use little 5/8 screws. When you mount the drawer guide, according to the instructions, you hold this edge back 1/4 of an inch from the face of your cabinet. You hold the actual drawer guide back 1/4 of an inch, and then you just mount it through these holes into the side of your cabinet. I'm going to have my camera come up really close so you can see this. I want to show you one thing on our drawer guide before we put it in. There's a little pin in the back of each side of our drawer guide. Those little pins fit into a little hole that we have to drill in the back side of our drawer. And I'm going to show you how I mark that. I just slide the drawer in. I just bump it a little bit. And it leaves 2 little teeny marks right there on each side. Those little marks are where I have to drill the hole. I have a drill all set up with a blue tape marker so I know the depth, because we don't want to drill through our back of our drawer. And so we drill a little hole like that. What the little pin is for and the hole is for is so that when the drawer is installed, when you pull it out, it doesn't tip forward. Okay. And now let's slide this back in again. And you can see how now it goes all the way back. All right. Now we have to put in and anchor the locking device. The locking device that goes on each side of our, this is the front of the drawer. These locking devices capture the front of the drawer guide so that when you pull the drawer out, it doesn't come off the drawer guide. And they are just anchored by 2 screws up front into the face of the drawer box. So we go like that, and we just put that screw there. All right, like that. And then we'll do the other side. All right, the locking devices are now installed. When you want to release the drawer, you just pull this little lever from underneath, and that disconnects the locking device from the front of the drawer. So let's go ahead and slide our drawer in, and it goes back, and you can hear the click when it catches. Hear that? That means the drawer is now hooked to the drawer guide. And so when you pull it out, it doesn't come off the drawer guide. And then you push it in and soft close. Very easy to do. And then when, like I say, when you want to take the drawer off, you just reach underneath, you push on those little releases, and your drawer comes out. I love undermount drawer guides. And click and installed. With our glue dry on our door, we're ready to sand. We'll start with 80 grit. Our 80 grit is done, now it's 120 grit. Before we do our final sand with 150, we'll put the edge on, which is a 3/16 round over with our handheld router. And we'll sand the complete door 150. We're going to hand sand the edge to smooth up our route and take off any sharp corners that we have so that the door has a nice smooth sand all over. And hand sanding that round over just really gives it a nice soft feel to it. All 4 edges, all 4 corners. You also have a little sharp edge around the inside of your panel. You want to take off that sharp edge too, just very lightly with our hand paper, just taking off that little sharp edge. We don't want to dull it down. We want it to still be a nice crisp corner. We just don't want it sharp. and then we take our final 150 on the face of the door. With our door all done and sanded, it's now time to drill for our pocket holes. We have our pocket hole jig and bit set up on our drill press, and we've marked where we want our pocket hole for our hinge. We line that up with the little mark on our jig, and then we just drill. We have the depth also set, so it's ready to go. All we got to do is just drill it. Okay, there we are, ready to go for hinges. Okay, we have a perfect morning for spraying. We're out here getting our doors and end panels. This is an end panel. We'll continue to spray and get our doors and end panels finished off for the job. All right, we have sprayed the first coat of lacquer, this tinted lacquer, on all of our doors and end panels. This Polindi airless handheld airless sprayer, we've really enjoyed how it works. We're going to wait for this to dry good, give it a soft sand, and then the final coat. Let's go ahead and show you how we sand up and get ready for our final coat. I did do one thing. When you spray a coat of lacquer, anytime you put a color coat on, any inconsistencies in your sanding shows up. So I went back with just some spackle that I purchased at Sherwin-Williams, and I just put a little dab of spackle on any place that was an inconsistency so that I could go ahead and get that smoothed up for our sand and our final coat. For a sanding sponge, I'm just using a fine grade sanding sponge that I also purchased from Sherwin-Williams. And we just sand down the edges first. Let's clean those up, just like that. Then I sand across the seams. Along the stile pieces, full length, like that. And then these good sharp edges, sharp corners, square corners, make a great way to sand inside our square stile and rail set and get down into that corner to give a nice sand in there, and then just across the panel. Okay, just like that. Then I take a little extra and I just work that seam where the stile and rail comes together so that I've got a real good sand on that, especially any place that I applied filler, so that I can make sure that the filler is smoothed out and ready to go. All right. Okay, and then I take my blower and I blow off like that, and I'm nice and smooth. and ready for the final coat of paint. With our painting all complete, we're going to now get ready to do the final assembly. The first thing we have to put on is our end panels. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the end panel. We didn't really show that. We did talk about the panel being 2 inches thick. We put it together just like one of our doors, but we created a foot on it that's 4 inches high. And to allow for the 2-inch spacing, we did a build-up on the inside. Our cabinet will screw through the inside of the cabinet into these build-out sections to create the end panel. We have to do that by laying the cabinet on its back on our workbench. Let's get ready to do that. We have laid our cabinet on its back. We removed the drawers. Our end panel is flush with the top, and that creates our 4-inch foot on the bottom. Our cabinet is also 21¼ inches, but our end panel is 22 inches deep. That will make, when we put our doors and drawer faces on, that will make it flush with the face of our end panel. Our end panel will be attached by screws from the inside of the cabinet into the end panel, just 1¼ grabber screws. I'll go ahead and do that now. We're going to go ahead and put a clamp on our end panel here just to hold it good and secure while we put our screws in. I said earlier when we were attaching these 4 cabinets together, I said I used 1.5-inch screws. They're 1¼ screws. And so they're 1¼ grabbers, just like that. And we'll attach the whole end panel all the way along the face and in the back of our cabinet, also to the back build-up of our end panel to get it all secure. Let me go ahead and get those 2 on, and then we'll tip the cabinet up. With our end panel installed and our cabinet sitting back up, you can see how that creates a foot effect and makes our cabinet look like it's a piece of furniture instead of a bath vanity. We've reinstalled our drawers, and we're getting ready to put drawer faces on. But the first thing we're going to do is put a door on. We have one already installed, but let's walk through how we do that. We're using a soft close pocket hinge, and I've drilled the pocket holes. You saw me do that earlier. We'll go ahead and put them in here. One thing about pocket hinges is they have to be perfectly aligned or they bind. They don't open and close correctly. I always just take a scrap piece of wood, line it up across the back of my hinge blocks there, and then I screw my hinges onto the door, and that keeps them perfectly aligned. And we're using the same little 5/8 screw that we used to mount the drawer guides. All right, there's our door hinged and ready to install. This is the mounting plate that screws to the inside of the cabinet that the hinge clips into. And it is just a clip situation. The hinge plate fits into the hinge just like that. And then it just clips in like that. And if you want to release it, there's a little release tab. There are many different kinds of pocket hinges, but they all have a release mechanism and a mounting plate and a hinge. So there's a variation of things, but they're all basically the same. Let's go put this on. Okay, we mounted the bottom plate by determining how high we wanted to have the drawer. We wanted a 5/8 overlip. By measuring our hinge and measuring the distance, we determined that this is the place for the bottom hinge plate. And I just went ahead and hooked the top plate to the door itself, and I will let the door tell me where the top one goes. So we put the bottom plate on like that. We'll position the top plate like that. We'll put our screws in and this door will be mounted. There we are with our doors all installed. Now we'll line up our drawer face installation so that the bottom of the drawer lines up with the bottom of the door and the top of this drawer lines up with the top of the door. Okay, let's walk through and show you how we mount our drawer faces. Here's our drawer face. We've determined top and bottom, and it really doesn't matter most of the time because they're the same. We set our drawer box on our drawer face, and then we center it. And what I've done is I've cut me two little strips that are the same size, that are the equal amount of the measurement between the width of our drawer and the width of our drawer face. That way, when I put it on both sides and I can feel that I've got it even, I've got my drawer face centered. This strip that I've made here is the distance from the bottom of the drawer to where I want the bottom of the drawer face to align on the cabinet itself. And I put this spacer down here, and I just put my finger down here and make sure that it's flush along the bottom, even side to side. And I just check it 2 or 3 times as I do it, making sure that I do any little fine-tuning adjustment with mostly it's done by feel. And I can just tell by the feel of the flushness of the little spacers that I've made that I have it centered. Now that I have my drawer face centered, I use my small crown staple with a 1-inch staple because I have 5/8 Baltic birch material and I don't want to go through my drawer face to the front. I put 1 staple in each corner. You have to be careful. You got to make sure that you put your staple on the inside through the thick part of your drawer face. You wouldn't want to put it out here. You'd mess up your drawer face that you just spent all the time working on. So now our drawer face is mounted to our drawer box. Let's go slide it in the cabinet. We have our full extension drawer guides. We put our drawer box on. We slide it in. Click. And there it is, all put in place, all mounted, soft close. And we've got a little adjustment to do, but we do our adjustment by just taking our rubber mallet, and because our staples are the only thing that's holding it right now, we can just bump it into place right where we need it, and then secure it with some screws from the inside for a permanent mount. But that's how we put our drawer faces on. With all our doors and drawers installed now, it's time to put on our hardware. Now I put 1 door handle on and I put 1 drawer handle on, but we're going to show you how we do it because I make these special homemade jigs, and I've done a video about this too, but I'll just show you how to do it. I make a jig for my door handles. We'll do this one first because we're right here. I just line up the middle of my stile and then how far I want to come down with my screws. I've used this jig before. You can see I've got several holes in here. So this is one that I just use over and over again until I've worn it out, and then I make a new one. And you just go side to side when you do doors. So let's go ahead and do the other door. And you can see I've marked a little circle around the ones that I'm using today. We give a preliminary hole. I don't go all the way through typically because I don't want to wear my jig out. Once I've marked the hole, I can go ahead and finish drilling. Okay, there's my holes. We use inch-long bolts for the handles. Put them in the back of the holes like that, and then take our little handle and line it up with the front of the bolts. And it's very easy. and it's on. And there's our handles, lined up, perfectly spaced, and even side to side. For our drawer face, our jig is just a little different. It is a piece of wood that is tacked onto a 1/4 inch piece of melamine. I have a center line, and then I have how far down I want to have my handle, and I center it to my drawer face. Now this line centers to the center of my drawer face, so I now have center top and bottom, center side to side. I take my jig, I line it up with my center line, and you can see I've marked my holes here where my handle goes. And we, like that. Okay, there's our holes, perfectly centered. 1.5 inch bolts for a recessed flat panel drawer face works just right. We put our bolts through, you can see them come through the face there. We take our screw gun from the back side again, line our handle up to the drawer face. Okay, I got to turn my hand around there. All right, and there's our drawer face handle. Now with all of our doors and drawer faces installed and our hardware put on, we have a beautiful looking vanity that would be nice for anyone's home. A great little remodel project that you can do. It's a little complicated, but if you'll watch and go through the step-by-steps, we show you everything that you can do, and I know you can do it, because we just showed you how on Woodworking with Wes.